Hey everyone, I am Deb Manus. All right, let's dive into one of the biggest trends happening in the wedding world right now. The micro wedding. We're talking about celebrations that are smaller, way more intimate, and just incredibly personal. So if you've been wondering what that really means and how you can actually pull one off, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point is to ditch the pressure of a huge, massive event and just focus on what actually matters. Celebrating your story with the people who have been right there with you every step of the way. So first things first, what exactly is a micro wedding? You've probably heard a bunch of terms thrown around. Micro wedding, intimate wedding, small wedding. Well, they all kind of point to the same beautiful idea. So here's the deal. A micro wedding is this perfect blend. It's not just a shrunken down version of a big wedding, and it's not quite an elopement either. Think of it like this. You get the super deep personal focus of an elopement, but you still get to have those key traditions and a real reception, like a bigger wedding, just with your absolute favorite people. This really breaks it down nicely. An elopement, that's the ultimate in intimacy. It's pretty much all about the ceremony. And a traditional wedding, well, that's a huge production. A micro wedding sits right in that sweet spot in the middle. You get the full experience, the ceremony, the dinner, the dancing, but for a very select group. All right, let's get into the topic that's on everyone's mind when it comes to wedding planning. The money. How does going micro actually affect the budget? You know, there's this big assumption that a smaller guest list automatically means a teeny tiny budget. And well, yeah, it can definitely be more affordable. It's not always as low as you might think. So let's actually break it down. So let's look at some real numbers. This gives us a pretty realistic snapshot of the starting prices for key things. You can see that even with just 25 guests, the core costs for a great venue, a good photographer, and decent food still add up. The takeaway here isn't that it's not cheaper, but that it allows you to spend your money more intentionally. Maybe you can now afford that amazing photographer or splurge on a really incredible meal for everyone. So yeah, for a 25 guest wedding, you're realistically looking at a starting point of over $11,000. Now, of course, this number can go way up or way down depending on where you live, what's important to you, and how much you want to DIY. But it's a really solid baseline to have in your head. Okay, so we've covered what it is and roughly how much it costs. Now, how do you actually plan one of these things without pulling your hair out? The great news is, with fewer moving parts, it can be a way more manageable, way less stressful experience. This quote, I mean, it's blunt, but it is 100% true. And that's exactly why the very first and honestly the hardest step in planning is figuring out that guest list. Every single person you add has an impact on the budget and the logistics. Deciding who makes the final cut can be absolutely gut-wrenching, but these tips are gold. The key is to set clear rules from the get-go, like say, immediate family only. That helps prevent hurt feelings down the line, and asking yourself those tough questions like, have they really been a supporter of our relationship? That helps you build a circle of genuine love and support for your big day. Here's the really good news. The timeline is often way more relaxed. You'll still want to book your absolute must-haves like the venue and photographer about a year out. But the rest of the process, it's so much more streamlined. This timeline is a perfect example of how planning a micro wedding can feel a lot less, well, overwhelming. Okay, now for the fun part. This is where micro weddings just absolutely shine. With a smaller group, you have so much freedom to get creative and design a day that is a total reflection of you as a couple. Let's look at some awesome ideas. Seriously, forget the traditional guest book that just collects dust on a shelf. These ideas are so much better. They're interactive and create keepsakes you'll actually look at again. Can you imagine listening to your grandparents' voices on an audio guest book years from now? Or putting together a puzzle filled with messages from your favorite people? It's all about creating real, meaningful moments. A smaller crowd is perfect for games that actually get everyone talking and laughing together. Giant Jenga, a funny trivia quiz all about your relationship, a cozy bonfire with s'mores. These things create connection. They make the day feel less like a stuffy, formal event and more like the best backyard party you've ever been to. And you can have so much more fun with food and drinks. Instead of a standard plated dinner, why not hire your favorite local food truck? Or you could do a family-style meal where everyone passes big platters around the table, which really gets the conversation going. It turns the whole meal into a memorable experience. So after going through the what, the how much, the planning, and all these amazing creative ideas, we get to the final big question. Is this the right style of wedding for you? It really just boils down to these three things. If what you're craving is true intimacy, deep personalization, and the freedom to spend your money on the things you actually care about, whether that's amazing food, stunning photos, or a dream venue, then yeah, a micro wedding might just be the perfect fit. Because ultimately that's what this is all about. Every single wedding tells a story. A micro wedding just gives you this incredible freedom to make sure every little detail, from who you invite to the last song you dance to, is a perfect chapter in the unique, amazing story of your love. So, what story do you want